Keys to the game include an improved offensive line play for Alabama. Now, does that mean that Caden Proctor has to play in the beginning of the show? I said yes. If he's ready to go, you play him for the continuity of the offensive line. You put Pritchard at right tackle. You don't give up on Wilcom Formby, but you put Pritchard in and you try to get that offensive line rolling. You run the football effectively. You give Jalen Milroe a clean pocket to throw to his game-breaking wide receivers, and you get a lot of momentum from an improved offensive line play. I think that's critical. I think you do take a step backwards if the offensive line struggles once again. Yesterday, we brought up some different offensive line combinations. I don't know, but I think you start Pritchard. I mean, Pritchard was going to start at left tackle before Caden Proctor decided to transfer back. Now you put him at the right tackle position. He's clearly played there before, and you see how he's doing. But I think it's really important to get Caden Proctor reps before Georgia. I really do. Now, clearly, if he's not ready to go, you can rest him this week and you can rest him next week because Alabama has an open game, and then you turn the page to Georgia. The offensive line has to improve. I mean, look, it's pretty impressive that Alabama is this dangerous on offense, considering that the offensive line grade collectively after 2 games is 53.1. I think point number 2 goes without saying as well. Alabama in 2 games has fumbled 6 times. They've lost the football 4 times. You can do that against Western Kentucky. I mean, you can't really do that against South Florida. That was a pretty good team. You can't turn the football over. That's unacceptable. Penalties and turnovers will prohibit you from making the playoffs, from winning the SEC title, from winning on the road in the SEC, which Alabama is about to do in a couple weeks, a bunch of times. Someone brought up an interesting stat and said that Kalen DeBoer's teams have been penalized for the last 3 or 4 years. I'm going to dive into that to see if that adds up. But so far, Alabama is averaging 89 yards of penalties per game. It's only 2 games. It's a small sample size. You have to clean it up. Can't turn over the football. Now, on that side, Jalen Milroe, he doesn't have an interception. But there's been 2 fumbles. Jam Miller fumbled. Kendrick Law fumbled, right? And the penalties, they have to improve. Now, there was a couple penalties last game. As we continue to look at the second watch, they didn't seem like penalties. Like, I don't like the targeting. I didn't like, a couple of, even the calls on Formby. Now, some of them were certainly penalties. But you get what I'm saying. Clean it up. The next 3 points. What's up, Chris from New Jersey? I appreciate you being here. Ryan, good morning, man. Thank you very much for joining us, and Jeff as well. I think you have to prohibit big plays through the air. You can't give Tyler Van Dyke, room to throw. Granted, I think Alabama's defense will do a good job bottling him up and getting pressure on him. I could even see another sack or 2 coming from Q Rob, who's been playing at a really high level. But you don't want Tyler Van Dyke to, first drive, he opens up with like a 80-yard touchdown on Xavier Brown. Don't let that happen. Keep Camp Randall in check. Van Dyke has only thrown for 406 yards and 1 touchdown in 2 games. It doesn't seem like he has a lot of momentum or a lot of game breakers on the outside. You don't want Alabama to be the first team that allows him to go crazy passing, right? 300 yards, you'll never hear the end of it. So I think if you eliminate big plays, I think Alabama's built to stop the run. They've done a really good job stopping the run, besides Byron Brown running up the middle, on that one particular drive. But he's a beast. This next point is, I feel, can take Camp Randall in Wisconsin out of the game completely. What we're seeing right now from Jam Miller and Justice Haynes is just the tip of the iceberg. I really feel if you feed these 2 young men, I don't care who has the hot hand, I think they can completely take a stadium out. I think they can eat up the clock. I think they're clearly game breakers. What are you going to do? Tell Justice Haynes to run out of bounds when he's, busting out an 80-yard run? Big play capability. if Alabama can run the football effectively behind Caden Proctor, Tyler Booker, Parker Brailsford, I don't know, even in a 12 personnel set, I think that gives Alabama a lot of momentum. These guys are phenomenal. We showed the side-to-side combo. They ran for over 350 yards and 4 touchdowns in just 2 games. And I'm not saying eliminate the passing game at all. I'm just saying rely on these running backs. And you know what? The weather's not going to be that good anyways. At least the morning looks a little wet. Hey, D. Harsh, what's up, man? Good morning to you. Do you agree with my point 4? Like, an effective running game will open up the pass. It's amazing. I think I was kind of wondering if it would be at the beginning of the season. We're talking about like top tandem running backs. You have Ohio State clearly, who has some good backs. But man, I think that Jam and Justice is probably the best tandem in the country. I mean, you could probably have some good arguments, but these guys are playing at a very high level. Take the momentum early. Talking about keys to the game. You take the momentum early with an established drive that either eats up the clock or a quick drive with Jalen Milroe hitting Brian Williams, Jeremy Bernard, Kobe Prentice, whoever it is, Kendrick Law. I don't care. But a big play early, and then you have or a defensive turnover. When you're on the road and you have one of these big plays on the opening drive, it can last the entire game. Camp Randall, I think, will be a challenging environment to play in. But Alabama and a lot of these guys on the team, they've already played in the road in some very challenging environments. Last year, they went to Kyle Stadium, which is much louder than Camp Randall, and they came away with the dub. I love me some Kobe Prentice, man. He's done a really good job, like I said earlier in the show, right? Highest rated player on the offense. And I'm curious to see if Kendrick Law is utilized in this game. Whatever. I just think an established run and you take the momentum away early, I think you get things rolling, right? Kyle Henderson, Bama Football on YouTube. When we took a look at last week's game, you see that Alabama rolled through South Florida by a score of 42-16. Jalen Milroe was 16-26, 194 yards with 2 touchdowns. Jam Miller, 15 attempts for 140 yards with a touchdown. Ryan Williams, 4 receptions, 68 yards and a score. Jahad Campbell, 11 tackles on the other side for South Florida, who is now 1-1 on the season. Byron Brown, 15-35 with 103 yards passing. Byron Brown also ran for 130 yards. Got to clean that up, and that is unacceptable, right? And the headline of this game read that the fourth quarter turned up Spurs Alabama. That's how dangerous Alabama is. Hey, Javion, thank you so much for the email. I got you, man. I appreciate you hitting me up. I mean, it's a dangerous team. I strongly feel that this is the most potent offense in the country. What's amazing is just the offensive line. We still haven't seen the offensive line get it going. So when you look at the Week 3 matchup and you see that they're favored by 16, I'm absolutely thinking Alabama wins by 21. At the beginning of the summertime, we didn't really know a lot. I felt that 9.5 was even a stretch. But now 16, I'm feeling comfortable. Now, who's with me inside the comment box? Do you think that Alabama beats Wisconsin by more than 16 points? I'm saying yes. I'm typing Y inside the comment box. What do you think? Let me know what you think inside the comment box. I think you take Alabama, by 24 on the road. And now Alabama has a little bit of rat poison. People starting to poke at them. Your offensive line can't do this. Everyone's talking about the quarterback play, right? The outside noise. You use that to propel your team on the road. Byron saying no. But we have everybody else saying yes, it looks like. And I honestly think it's because of the defense. I think the defense will set the offense up and you'll get things going and this team will absolutely roll. Well, I appreciate you being here. In case you missed it, we talked about this at the beginning of the show. The injury report reads like this. Justin Jefferson out the first half after a targeting call. Caden Proctor day-to-day. Cole Adams day-to-day. Jeremiah Alexander out and Jalen Hell out. These are the topics that we covered on the show. The injury report, we talked about Tyler Van Dyke versus Alabama. Alabama heads to Camp Randall as a 16-point favorite. I showed some detail in why I feel Alabama wins by more than 16 points. That was included in our head-to-head comparison. We talked about the game breakers, the impact players, and some freshmen as well. We also covered some general Crimson Tide headlines, including Nate Oates landing Amari Allen out of, ironically, Wisconsin. We talked about five-star Justice Terry, still liking what he sees from the Alabama Crimson Tide. And then we mentioned that photo of Julio Jones talking to Caleb Cunningham. Alabama still ranked number 2 in the country. Yo, we got a good one this weekend, this Saturday, between Alabama and Wisconsin. I want to get your take on this game inside the comment box. What do you think are the keys to Alabama moving to 3-0 going into that open week? I can't wait. This will be a great game. And you know who I have a lot of respect for is Luke Fickell. I think he's a really good football coach. And I talked about that on my Tuesday show. I really like him. I think he's a quality coach. Look, Alex Golesh is a good coach. Alabama this season, Alabama's not only playing good teams, they're playing, and usually, of course, good teams are led by good coaches, but you look at all the coaches that Alabama is set to play, it's amazing. What an opportunity for this team, and what an opportunity for Coach Kalen DeBoer and his squad to go on the road to Wisconsin this coming weekend. Again, this is my crew this morning. We did a 9/11 memorial stair climb at Bryant-Denny Stadium, which is awesome. It's really important to me. That group is really cool. And then I talked about ways to, that you can support the show. Super chats, becoming a fan funder, thumbs up during the show, become a sponsor. There's my email. And then we're on social media pretty much everywhere else that you can find it. I really appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much for believing in the product, for supporting Bama Football on YouTube. Every single day at 9 a.m. I also upload the show onto Spotify, Bama Football on Spotify. As news happens, I'm live. And, during the actual game, I have a watch along where you can join me and we watch the game together, which has been pretty fun. I mean, this one would be great because you got 11 a.m. and look, this is going to be a good game. I just think Alabama has a lot in store for Wisconsin this coming weekend. And I think they'll be turned up coming off a tough game against South Florida. I appreciate you guys being here. Please drop me a thumbs up. Thank you so much for joining me on this beautiful 9/11. Never forget 9/11, 23 years ago. And I appreciate you guys. And I'll be back right here on Bama Football on YouTube from beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Thank you so much for joining me today, fam. I love you all.